How's it going, container gardeners? So this is a system I've set up recently. I needed a way to dispose of my fish change water because I had just been pumping all the water outside and it had been creating kind of a bog, and that's real messy. So what I wanted to do was be able to store the water and to extract the nutrients out of it slowly and create duckweed for my fish, and then be able to water with the whatever was left over of the fish water. Because it's kind of part of the nutrient cycle is, I don't want to have well water go into my fish tanks and then going back into the ground too far, or too close to where the well pickup is, because I could have fish hormones or ammonia, nitrates going back into the water, and instead of getting beautiful purified well water like I'm used to, eventually it could build up and I could be getting nitrates in my well water if I return the wastewater into the ground too close to the pump pickup. And I mean vertically. So here's where it had been. The water was draining out of here, and I brought it right over here, and the water had been dumping right in here, and it was kind of turning this into a bog. My well pump is about 20 foot down, right about here underneath the barn. So that was kind of risky and kind of close, because then that water would go into the ground and just recycle back so close. I was really worried about that. So what I have now, I have a sump and a pump inside that the water pools in, and then it pumps it out into these totes. And let me show you. I grow lots of duckweed. And I set them up staggered. Oops. I set them up staggered so the water would just overflow. You see what I have is just an overflow pipe. So when the water goes up above that bottom edge of this pipe, it just drains into the next one. And you see it keeps the water level pretty standard. And then when this one fills up, well, then the water drains down here into this last setup. And you can see what I got going in here. I got a sump pump, and pumps the water out, and I'll show you what I kind of got going for that. This thing probably turns on 4 or 5 times a day depending on water changes, but it'll go from right about where you can see that algae growing, and then it'll come up to about here. So that's probably about 100 gallons, and then it'll spend 45 minutes or so pumping that water out. And this was about 400 watts, so I spend 25 cents a day pumping this used fish water and watering with it. So it's not too big of a deal. But you check and see what I got going in here. I have some large snails. They like to eat that duckweed, and they like to hopefully we'll start laying some clutches of eggs, because I need to grow tons more snails because I have a puffer fish now. Let me show you where this hose is going. It goes all the way through my yard. This is a 100-foot hose. This was the biggest inside diameter hose I could buy at the store. And check out my garden. Right now I have it set up to water the raspberries and the blackberries. And they're right here. I got some grapes too. I'm gonna work on cleaning this up today. And you pull some weeds. These are the blackberries. Here's my nicely mulched raspberries. But you see, the biggest problem is that since that sump pump in that tote are higher up than the outlet of this sprinkler, well, then it just siphons out, and it continuously does that until I do a big water change, and then it turns that pump on and pumps the water out. So about my only solution would be to put a sprinkler like this on a 3-foot pole to bring it up above the water level of that sump so it won't siphon. And I have a sprinkler system I'm going to set up for that, but it'll be nice because then I can just bring the sprinkler over here and set it up right in between my two beds and let it just water throughout the day. Because in that Kansas summer with all this raised bed and how quick the water drains out of the raised beds, well, then that kind of causes a lot of trouble with keeping moisture on the roots and keeping the plants happy. The last couple years I've had a lot of trouble with these cucumbers. When they start to go up, vining up this trellis, they get dried out pretty damn quick. So if there's a way I can keep water on them at noon and also at 5 p.m., well, then that'll keep them a lot happier. You can see the cucumbers I already have coming on. These are very young plants. I mean, I think 3 planted here, and they'll really climb this and put on a lot of cucumbers. I need those cucumbers for I keep a lot of plecos, so it'll be real nice having cucumbers to feed the plecos, because that's really natural thing for them to eat. And well, thanks you guys for watching. I'm just kind of rambling on about what I got set up here, but it's kind of I need something done, so I figure out how I want to fix it, how I want to do it, and then I share that with you guys. And I don't really have much more to say about it, but that's probably my favorite thing about the farm, my little container gardener farm. I keep a lot of fish, raised beds. I might put some more peppers in some buckets. That's my favorite part of having the containers, is actually figuring out how to water them and maintain them. And it's nice not having to weed. I hate weeding gardens like my mom used to 20 years ago. We'd be down there helping her weed and pick green beans, and it was just a lot of work. It's a lot of work to weed a garden, work full time, and I keep lots of fish. I have about 50 tanks. I mean, here's what I got going right now. I keep a lot of goldfish. I keep some, this is my fun little guppy tank. Here's my breeding goldfish tank. I'm working on these guys, getting them to spawn, and these guys are getting ready to move out pretty soon because they're big enough they can go in their own tank. I got even more downstairs that you haven't even seen, but at least if you're new, you haven't seen it, but let me give you a little bit more of a tour. I keep everything on sumps. So I maintain about 18 large filter socks. There's just a lot of fish to maintain in here. But this is, you know, a big source of the water that goes to my big totes I have is from this pool. And it's sure nice being able to actually use this nutrient-rich water to water the yard with, or water the plants with. It's a nice change because, you know, a lot of people can't do this. All right, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. See ya. Have a great Memorial weekend.